Good morning. Joe Cox Jr. with Life Made Simple, getting you through this narcissistic world. So, what we're going to talk about today is a lot of you have asked me about my healing path, my healing journey. What was it, you know, what was I guess, what kicked me in to really begin to heal? So, let me go back a little bit to help you kind of understood how I felt lost and I didn't understand what I was looking for, because growing up with most of you know that my mother was very toxic to me, called me everything in the book growing up. I left home at 16. Instead of saying, I wish you well, she told me I was just as sorry as my father, and I just proved it by leaving and this sort of thing. And so I'm just like, what is so flawed in me? Why am I so broken that she can't love me? So I'm an empath by far. I feel everything. And I think we've talked a little bit about that throughout. It's basically a higher consciousness level. I was born into a family of narcissists with a low consciousness level, and it makes it very difficult to grow up in the same family um, with those two dynamics, because they're so opposite. But so anyway, I moved out. Then, of course, at 16, I get on my own. I start to do very well, but I'm confused. What am I supposed to do for life? And I realized I really just had no self-confidence, no self-worth, lack of worthiness that I think a lot of us struggle with. I had no confidence because I'd never been able to do anything in high school. I'd never been able to accomplish anything. My mother made sure that I wasn't able to accomplish anything, whether it was playing an instrument, wouldn't allow me to play sports. I really didn't have any quality friends in school, because I didn't think like them. And my teachers, I actually had a couple of them tell me that they thought of me as, has anybody told you you're an old soul? I'm like, well, what does that mean? I think because I would ask deeper questions, but because I was in a an environment of poverty. Everybody around me was basically, the whole town was very low energy. Nobody was really what I would consider accomplished. Nobody really had a career. It was all labor jobs, things of that nature. And there's nothing. I I, I wound up being an electrical contractor, so I'm not dissing on labor. What I'm saying is a lot of these people in labor jobs tend not to want to grow. I think labor jobs, you want to, you get into them, you either want to start your business or something later, or do something with it, or get better as you go. But most of these people around me just got onto assembly line jobs, never really wanted to do any better. My father, he was adamant about not becoming a supervisor or growing. He even had a chance to get into skilled trades at General Motors. He had a good assembly line job, but he did just enough to get by. And so these are the people that I grew up with. And in my soul, I'm like, I wanted to try all these things and do these things and go these places. And I just couldn't seem to figure out, how to get started. So I had all these people telling me these detrimental, toxic things. You know, free advice is the most expensive advice that you'll ever get. Let me say that again. If somebody gives you free, unsolicited advice about something, chances are it's going to be the most expensive advice you've ever gotten, because you're going to find out, chances are, they're just being a parrot and they're repeating what somebody else told them down the line, and there's really no basis to it. So I came up in a church that's pretty much all they did, is repeated everything. So everybody was saying the same thing. So I made some really bad choices, and one of them was not to focus on myself. After going through all that toxicity growing up, for me to heal, I needed to focus on myself. And let's make that clear right now. Right now, you need to put yourself first. If you're watching this channel and you're trying to heal through something, Put yourself first. You are number one. You cannot give anything you do not have for yourself. Okay? Our goal is to become a strong person. You were born the perfect person. Your goal is to become the best you, and the only way you can do that is to become the best you is putting yourself first. I had all these people say, if you want to become a great person, give, 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 give. But then there was nothing left for me. And when I gave to everybody, they're all gone now. They're not sitting there giving back to me. I'm like, wait a minute. This, it's kind of like the golden rule. Most people know what the golden rule is, right? Doing to others that you would have others doing to you. What they didn't tell us is, yes, do unto others how you want them to treat you, but don't expect them to treat you that way. That was a big aha moment, because I just thought if I did that in return, they're gonna, give back equal, right? It's a give and take, right? That's what a good marriage is. Me and my wife have that in our marriage now. So life is supposed to be that way, but first you can not go out and just give to where you don't have anything left for yourself. So we're talking about my healing, and so that was something that I learned much later. I learned a little bit of it earlier, and that's when I decided to go to college and skill trade and get my real estate license. But during that time, I felt like I was being selfish because I didn't understand the concept. I'm like, well, they're telling me to give, but I'm doing this for myself, so I must be selfish. And so when my mother attacks me, she must be right. So going through my 20s and 30s, I still got those toxic belief systems. In order to heal, you got to go back and look at your belief system. What is a belief system? Every decision you make in your life is based on your belief system. Think about that. Question is, where did you get your belief system from? Large majority, if not almost everybody, gets their belief system from the dynamics of their childhood. Think about that. That's what we're supposed to do, is learn and grow during childhood and learn how to live life. So if we grow up in a detrimental system, and now we go out at 18 years old and we're starting to live our life, does that make sense of how many of us repeat the same behaviors? We don't know why. It's not what we want. We wind up choosing things we don't really want. We don't know how we got them, because we're sitting there saying, I don't want this. I didn't want to marry a narcissistic wife the first time, and that's what I did, because my narcissistic mother kept away my the person that would have been a wonderful life in the very beginning. And I tell you that story too in another video about my wife. I knew her at 15 years old. So go back and watch that video as well. Got me and my wife both on it, if you haven't already seen it. So here we are, we're starting to live life. We've got a belief system. We realize something's wrong. Now we want to heal from it. This is where I think I was messing up, and I believe that this might be a major eye-opener for a lot of people. I was still, even in my 40s, living the belief system I had grown up with. Nobody had said, hey, change your belief system. What got me to success was me reading books, all these motivational books and all. And I'm like, oh, so this is how you do it. So when I was successful, I couldn't even enjoy it because I still operated at my old belief systems. That you're unworthy, that you're no good. That's all I ever heard. So that's what I constantly had, that repeat in my head. And I had really I had never had true, authentic love. So at this point, I was beginning to think it didn't exist. It just, and I think what it was is I was actually afraid of it. It was odd to me. I didn't know what love, authentic love was. And I couldn't attract authentic love unless I became my authentic self. So all these, life is like a big puzzle or connect the dots. You know, you're going around connecting the dots of life or putting the pieces together. This is how I like to think about it is life is kind of like a puzzle, whereas you grow up and you kind of get all the end pieces kind of outlined, okay? The border. And then we go and create our life of how that picture is supposed to be. When you don't have the borders, you have no structure, you have no boundaries, you have no limitations. You don't have the foundation. The border is like your foundation of your life, the border of a puzzle. You want to create that perfect picture, but we're given tools that don't work. Look at the kids today. How many of them are lost? Blaming it on the school systems, not the family. So I know a lot of people have to send their kids to the regular schools because they don't have the money. They've got to work and they're struggling, and a lot of people, I believe, don't want to but have no choice. Bottom line, it always comes back to the parents' structure and foundation. And I will tell you this: this is, as you know, I reconnected with Janasu around 51 years old. That's when my true healing. Well, it actually started right before we reconnected. I was 50, and that's when I got my 7th therapist. When I was at my all-time low, and it was like, in a way, I'd been constantly broken down, broken down, broken down. Now I'm ready. Now, down in the country, work truck once went by. So now here I am at 50, completely at my lowest level. I was a millionaire, thriving at 35, and for I say 12 years roughly, I was in the dark night of the soul. It was probably maybe closer to 15, but bottom line, during all that time, I think it was about 37. Yeah, when I started taking the dip and lost everything within 5 years of that, and just I was tumbling. I was just tumbling, tumbling, and nobody there to stop me from rolling down the hill. Matter of fact, my parents, if anything, they encouraged it. And part of healing is coming to understanding and acceptance of what these people did to you. I know other people say, well, if they did that to you, you have a right to do it to them. Do you? I want you to think about something. If if they do something to me that's low, and I'm going to say, okay, if they have that right, then I can come down to their level and do it back to them. That equals the karma, right? It actually just creates more negative karma. It doesn't fix it, and you lowered yourself. As an empath, we tend to understand that, but don't understand it at the same time. We deep within us. But what I want to do is help you understand that rising above any situation is going to be where your healing is. Everything in here you have control of. Everything out here you don't. And then everything out here is just a reflection of everything in here. You're just a mirror. When people call you names, They're just telling you who they are. These little nuggets here change my life. When you understand what projection is, and people call you names or degrade you and tell you you're sorry, and you're a little. I have liars in my family calling me liars, but I don't ever go out there and call them a liar, even though I know they are. They're the ones that deceive me, but I don't pick up the phone and call them, tell them they're a liar, but they call and tell me that. It's just them raising their hand saying, this is who I am. And I think once we understand that, that helps us begin the healing path. When I went to that therapist, and what really helped open my eyes to it and helped me to understand what it was like, OMG. I'm like, oh my goodness. I told this on another, but I'll just say it again. It's when I went to that therapist for the first time, my seventh one, and this is at my rock bottom. And I remember sitting in her office, staring out the window, and her asking me questions. And I'm like, I don't even know who I am. I don't know what this place is they call Earth. I had, at that point in time, my will to live, my desire for life was very, very low. For all those struggling with it, I get it. Been there. It's real. And what that is that's people chipping away at your spirit throughout life, chipping away, because we are not trained on how to protect ourselves from our parents. We're supposed to learn self-love and self-worth. Actually, we come into life with it. We come into life with self-love. The day you were born, you loved yourself. You were the perfect you. And just through life, people have chipped away at it. But when I was in that office with that therapist, and after the therapy session, this lady was a lot deeper than everybody else. Let's put it that way. I'll tell you another story about her that I just go back but anyway, when she held me after the session, instead of giving me a pill or anything, she knew my spirit had been totally broken. She gave me a hug and said, everything's going to be okay. Nobody had ever told me that, but the the energy behind that was just overwhelmingly good. And that's when I decided, this was about 6 months before I opened the thrift store for the homeless. I had a whole policy. I sold my whole policy. I said, I'm going to do what I can and try to heal. And at the same time, I'm going to try to give back to the homeless. And how that even fell into place, because when I filed the nonprofit, they said 6 months to get it back and all that. It came in like 7 days. I mean, just so many things. The place we found. That's where my wife then moved to the town, and she got a job right behind my store. So there are no accidents. When you are at a point where you really take action, because I had to take action to find that therapist, even though I didn't have much life force left in me. And that's what it is. It's your life force. Our life force is what makes our heart beat. It is what gets us up out of bed every morning. To dig down to find that power within yourself. Everything you've gone through is for a reason. I've been told that a lot in my life. I don't think we see all the reasons why we're here, but I see a lot of them. Could I have been a stronger person? And I think this is a big thing you got to understand is people say, your challenges like abuse and that sort of thing make you stronger. Just understand the difference between abuse and a challenge. My mother ripping my soul out by telling me I'm worthless my whole childhood. That's not a challenge. That's abuse. That does not build, that does not make anybody stronger. That tears everybody down. That's toxic. People saying you can do it and I believe in you while you're working on the challenge. That's where true growth comes from. So I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have that even in my 20s and 30s. I just got out there and made things happen. So what I want to do is help you to understand that don't look at, what I recommend is if you look at everything as, oh, I was just abused, and that's not making me stronger, the key is to understand that, not to hold it. Your job is not to hold on to your toxic emotions. It's to accept it. And I talk about trapped emotions, getting those they're trapped emotions in there, and you start getting those trapped emotions released. Life is not meant to be easy, but it is meant to be simple. There's simple steps that once you understand those steps. That's why I wrote the book. Life is simple once you understand. Your goal is to become a whole person. And that is, a whole person is your mind, body, and spirit living in harmony with one another. You become whole, everything on the outside of you is going to fall into place, and that's where all your richness is. And it is. The older you get, the tougher it is. And I'm so glad that a lot of these younger people are getting this information today. I've gotten so many wonderful comments of support for me to continue this channel. Station. So I'm going to start winding it up for now, but I will do some more on the healing episodes and talk to you more about details. Feel free to ask me in the comments, leave me a question about this video. If you want me to go more in depth on something, I'll be glad to, because chances are if you ask me, there's more than one person that I've overlooked something that somebody could benefit from. Okay? So at this time, I'll reach out to you and just say, don't give up. Whatever you do, don't give up. You were born with greatness, and your job is to find that greatness. It's not out here, it's all in here. Dig down. Put yourself first. Nothing wrong with putting yourself first as long as you're not taken away from other people. From Life Made Simple, getting you through this narcissistic world. This is Joe Cox Jr. from my heart to yours. I wish you nothing but blessings. Bye-bye.